The gift of Magi. $1.87. That was all she had saved. 3 times Della counted it. Only $1.87. And the next day would be Christmas. There was clearly nothing she could do now but sit down on the old worn couch and cry. So Della did. You see, life is made of tears and smiles, but mainly of tears. When Della had finished crying, she powdered her cheeks with face powder. She stood by the window and looked out sadly at a grey cat walking along, a grey fence in a grey garden. Tomorrow would be Christmas Day, and she had only $1.87 with which to buy Jem, her husband, a present. She had been saving every cent she could for months, but $20 a week, which was the total of their income, doesn't leave much for saving. The expenses had been greater than she had calculated. They always are, and now she had only $1.87 to buy a present for Jem. Many happy hours she had spent trying to think of something nice for him, something fine and rare, something good enough to belong to her Jem. There was a mirror between the windows of the room. Suddenly she turned away from the windows and stood in front of the mirror. Her eyes were shining brightly, but her face had lost its color. Quickly she took the pins from her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now Della and Jem had 2 things they were very proud of. One was Jem's gold watch, which had been his father's and his grandfather's. The other was Della's lovely brown shining hair. It reached to below her knees, and when she let it hang freely, it flew around her like a beautiful cloak. Nervously she bent up her hair again. She hesitated for a minute and stood still while a tear or 2 ran down her face. She put on her old brown jacket and her old brown hat. Then, her eyes still bright with tears, she ran out of the door and down the stairs to the street. She stopped at a shop where the sign said, "Madame Sophia, we buy haircuts of all kinds." Della ran up the steps and paused for a moment at the top to get back her breath. She opened the door. "Will you buy my hair?" asked Della. "Yes, I buy hair," said Madame. "Take off your hat and let us have a look at it." Down fell that pile of lovely brown hair. $20, said Madame, lifting up the hair and examining it carefully. "Give it to me quickly," said Della. The next 2 hours passed happily. She was looking in the shops for Jem's present. She found it at last. It surely had been made for Jem, and no one else. There was not another one like it in all the shops, and she had searched them all carefully. It was a gold watch chain. Like all good things, it was simple and didn't have a lot of decoration. Clearly, It was exactly right for the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew it must be Jim's. Although Jim's watch was beautiful, he sometimes looked ashamed of it because he had no chain for it, only an old thin leather strap. The gold watch chain cost her $21. She hurried home with it held tightly in her hand. When Della reached home, she was no longer excited. For now she felt a little worried about what she had done. She looked at what remained of her hair. Then she started to work at it with her quick fingers. In less than 40 minutes, her head was covered with tiny curls. When she finished, she examined her reflection carefully in the mirror. At 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and she had the pots and pans on the stove ready to cook the supper. Jim was never late. Della sat on the edge of the table, nearest the door. She had the gold watch chain hidden in her hand. Then she heard him at the bottom of the stairs. She turned pale. Just for a moment. She had the habit of saying little silent prayers about the simplest everyday things, and now she whispered, "Please, God, make him think I'm still pretty." The door opened, and Jim stepped in. He looked thin and very serious. Poor man. He was only 22 and responsible for a family. He needed a new coat, and his shoes were old and worn. Jim closed the door. Then he stood still. He began to stare at Della, and there was an expression in his eyes which she could not understand. It frightened her. It was not anger, nor surprise, nor her, nor any of the feelings she had been prepared for. He simply stared at her with a peculiar expression on his face. Della went to him quickly. "Jim," she cried, "don't look at me that way. I had my hair cut off and sold it because I couldn't have lived through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow again. You don't mind, do you?" "I just had to do it. My hair grows very fast, you know. Please, say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful gift I've got for you." "You've cut your hair?" asked Jim, slowly, as if he had not really understood anything Della had said to him. "I've cut it off and sold it," said Della. "Don't you like me just as well? Anyhow, my hair's gone, but I'm just the same." Jim seemed to wake quickly out of his dream. He took a package from his coat pocket and put it down on the table. "Don't make any mistake about me, Della," he said. "I don't think that there is anything about your hair that could make me love you any less. But if you open that package, you'll see why I didn't know what to say for a while at first. Her quick white fingers tore at the string and paper, and then an excited scream of joy, and then a very quick change to tears and cries. For there were the comps, the pair of comps, which for months Della had been going to look at it in a shop window. Beautiful comps with jewel in them, and they were just the right color to wear in her beautiful hair. If only she still had it. They were expensive comps, she knew, and she had wanted them so much. But she had never dreamed that they would be ever hers. And now they were hers. But because her hair was gone, she would have no use for them. However, she held them close to her chest. At last, she was able to look up through her tears and smile and say, "My hair grows so fast, Jim." Then Della remembered something else. Jim had not yet seen his beautiful gift. Eagerly she held it out to him in her open hand. The gold chain seemed to flash with a reflection of her bright and warm spirit. "Isn't it lovely, Jim? I searched all over the town for it." "You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it." Instead of obeying, Jim dropped down on the old couch, put his hand on his head, and smiled. "Della," he said, "let's put away our Christmas gifts and keep them for a while. They are too nice to use now. I sold the watch to get enough money to buy your comps. And now let's have our supper."